the members of the Legislative Affairs Subcommittee, Councilor Novoselsky. Ira's
Here.
here. Councilor Powers? Councilor Powers is absent. Councilor Sereno? Oh. Councilor Sereno is absent. Councilor Zambudo? Councilor Zambudo is absent. Chairman Morabito?
Here.
Here. And Council President Keefe is ex officio.
Here.
Here, a quorum is present. First
Excellent.
item on the agenda is Council Order 20-221. This is an ordinance relative to amending meeting times of governmental bodies.
We're going to put this on hold until Councilor Sereno arrives on the Zoom meeting. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda.
Sure. Next item is Council Order 20-260, an ordinance amending the establishment of a Human Rights Commission.
Is Councilor Rotundo here? If not, we'll place that on file. And if he comes into the meeting, if he arrives, we'll take it up if he comes into the meeting.
Okay. And Councilor Sereno has arrived?
Excellent. We'll revert back to the first motion.
Okay.
An ordinance relative to amending meeting times of governmental bodies. Councilor Sereno.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Clerk, for the record, would you like to read the amended language or would you like me to read it?
If the city clerk can read it, please, the amended.
Yep. Let me just pull that up on my computer. Hold on. So the amended version of the ordinance as proposed by Councilor Sereno is as follows. He is replacing the hour of 6 o'clock with 5:30. And at the end of the sentence after Sunday, he's adding in matters deemed necessary by the presiding officer of the following. And the departments, the boards and commissions are as follows. Board of Health, City Council Committee of the Whole and subcommittees, Conservation Commission, Commission on Disabilities, Human Rights Commission, Planning Board, Traffic Commission, and Zoning Board of Appeals.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Councilor Sereno.
Mr. Chairman, I spoke with a couple of councilors about this motion, which is why I brought it back from 6 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Councilor Visconti, I don't know if Councilor Visconti is on the line, but he had suggested moving that half hour from 6 p.m. to 5:30 because if work for City Hall employees ends at 5 p.m., waiting until 5:30 wouldn't be as bad as waiting until 6 p.m. and we would be cutting overtime costs rather than starting exactly at 6 p.m. And by adjusting the time to 5:30, this would allow for council subcommittee meetings with a small agenda or non-controversial matters to be heard briefly before a regular council meeting. Like tonight, we have an appointment subcommittee and there's one item on the agenda. So it wouldn't make sense to have that at 6 p.m. on another night. So the 5:30, I think, allows a little bit of flexibility. And then I went through the list of boards and commissions of the city, and I felt the ones that I outlined in the amended language are the ones that members of the public are most likely to have business before and have an appetite to attend. I did not include the License Commission or Site Plan Review. The License Commission, because after further thought, 3 o'clock in the afternoon does tend to work for most restaurant and bar owners who, the License Commission mostly services people in that industry that might be working in the evenings. I also did not include the Site Plan Review because, as was suggested, contractors and whatnot, it makes more sense to have that in the morning. And I know those meetings are televised and people who do have business before them do make the time to go. Aside from that, other boards like the Retirement Board, the Senior the senior council on elder affairs. Those meetings are held during the day, and they service the populations that they need to by meeting at those times. So again, the intent of the motion was to get most public meetings where the public has business before it, to give them the opportunity to attend without having to miss work. So I think 5:30 p.m. for these more, I won't say controversial boards, but these boards that people have business before, I think would really mean a lot to our taxpayers. So with that, I hope my fellow councilors on the committee will vote this favorably, and I hope that the entire city council will vote it out favorably tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Are there any members on the subcommittee who would like to speak? Seeing none.
Chairman, there's an attendee present who would like to speak, Ralph DeChico.
Mr. DeChico, if you can state your name and address for the record.
There's a counselor who had his hand raised.
Actually-
A couple counselors raised their hands, so I don't know
Mr.
who you want.
DeChico, we're gonna place you on hold while the counselors speak first. Counselor Guinasso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be close with this, Ricky. It's not going to be too far away. I'm going to push it to 5 o'clock, which would give an hour prior to a council meeting, which would pretty much encompass quite a few of our subcommittees could be conducted on a Monday night when we're all together and most of them in attendance. So if you wouldn't mind, I would like to see it 5 o'clock in our meetings of the committee, the entire council meeting be at 6, if you would take that into consideration. And other than that, I think your wisdom in selecting the License Commission retain their identity at 3 o'clock, which is really a very doable thing, because most restaurants who have the greater majority of the impact on the License Commission, they'll be all in attendance for sure. So if you would take a very, very, very friendly amendment to make it 5 o'clock instead of 5:30. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Sereno, would you like to amend your current ordinance to 5 p.m.?
Sure. So I'll be honest, I wouldn't be too happy to do that, but I will, in the spirit of compromise, in the spirit of making sure that we're not having meetings at 3:30 in the afternoon. I think 5 o'clock, is much better than 3:30 in the afternoon. So I would take that as a compromise and kind of a win to be able to do that. So I would be happy. I shouldn't say I would be happy, but I will take the dean of the council's request, and we'll do 5 p.m. I would be okay with that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor
Thank you, Counselor.
Sereno. Politics is all about compromise, and
Compromise. That's right.
so I
Understood.
appreciate that. Does anyone else want to speak right now? President Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through to Councilor Sereno, I just wanted to point out that, and I know that you just further amended it, but your original amendments were very thoughtful, considering some of the boards that you had thought of. So I appreciated your changes, and as mentioned before, your original motion when it came to the 6 o'clock meetings is actually no problem with me. The later the better. I sometimes have to, even today, rush home to get to these meetings. So I appreciate the taking yourself out on a limb here, trying to make some changes in the council, and really nice job. Thank you, Councilor. I'm all in favor.
President. Anyone else? Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no preference really with regard to time, as long as the people that we represent have the opportunity to come up and speak on the issues that are near and dear to them. And I think the easier we make it for our constituents, I think to hear their voice and listen to their concerns, the smoother the city will run. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Are there any other members or any other members of the City Council who would like to speak?
Councilor Zambudo has his hand raised.
There we go. Counselor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say that I really appreciate all the hard work that my colleague put into it. And I truly appreciate his compromise. I know it was hard for him to do that. And I'm more in favor of the 5 o'clock also option, but takes someone really wanting to do compromise when you know that he wasn't really for that. So congratulations to my colleague from Ward 6. He's doing a great job, and he really gets it. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Zambudo. And I don't see anyone else's hands raised right now. I just want to acknowledge the city council members who are here that are not on the committee. We have Counselor Ira Novoselsky. We have Counselor McKenna, Counselor Janino, you're on it. Counselor Powers, Counselor Serino, Counselor Visconti. Did I miss anyone? And also I want to acknowledge our former mayor and city councilor, Dan Rizzo, as well, who's here. And if I missed anyone else, please let me know.
Janino.
I mentioned her twice.
Well, she should be mentioned 3 times.
Oh, our new state rep elect. Is Ralph DeChico still on the call, on the meeting?
Yes.
Yes, he is.
Mr. DeChico, would you like to speak?
Yeah, Ralph DeChico, Revere Commission on Disabilities, 249 Broadway, Revere. I had one question and one comment. Now, this won't affect the starting time that I have had since we reinstituted the Commission on Disabilities, has always been 6 o'clock. As we want to make sure. Secondly, I really was in favor of having all meetings at 6 o'clock, as the council meeting is at 6 o'clock. And if the meetings were going to be different times, I really felt that 6 o'clock was a more adequate time for the residents as councils, ward councils, and councilor at larges. You are there to represent the constituents, and 6 o'clock is a more preferable time, whether there is a big turnout or not. There are due to not now because of the pandemic, residents do work till 5 o'clock on the normal time in the real world. When there was not a pandemic, and 5 o'clock or 5:30 meeting times do not usually allow for residents to come up and voice their concerns or opinions at meetings, whereas 6 o'clock as a regular council meeting does allow for that. So I was really in favor of all meetings being at 6 o'clock. Did a poll of a lot of the area cities and towns that are in the vicinity. A lot of these cities and towns meetings start after 6 o'clock. Most of them are 7 o'clock at night. So I do not see the rationale of having any meetings before then, especially if they're going to be at a different night. I know looking at cost, but I really feel it's nickel and diming, and it's at the expense of the taxpayers and residents that cannot make meetings at 5 or 5:30 at night.
Thank you. Point taken. Counselor Serino, would you like to speak? Actually,
Yes.
Counselor Serino, let me backpedal to you. I'm going to go to Counselor Novoselsky, and then I'll come back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I know Council Serino is pretty strong on this. 5 o'clock is good, but I just have a concern about the Traffic Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals. And I would like to have heard from the chairman of those departments to get a feeling from them. I see Michael Tucker's on the line, or he's listening. I don't know if he has any opinion on his timing, because his are usually at 4 o'clock, as is, I believe, Traffic Commission. So I don't know if Michael wants to jump in on it or not. Michael?
Mr. Tucker,
I have no problem with 6 o'clock.
please state your name and address for the record, please.
Michael Tucker,
Thank
9
you.
Elephant Street, Revere, Mass. I have no
Thank you.
problem with 6 p.m.
Okay. And now it's 5 o'clock anyways, Michael. Okay, thank you,
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. There's no one else with their in attendance as attendees who would like to speak. Sorry, I'm kind of in the dark over here. Counselor Sereno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to address Mr. Chico's comments briefly. So when I was redrafting the amended language, I had talked to a member of the school committee, and she had suggested even after COVID, with regard to Zoom has become a tremendous asset and a way for residents to come on and participate remotely, even without being at City Hall. So I think even after COVID, I would advocate and push that we continue to let Zoom, give the option to residents to participate via Zoom. So even if they are leaving work or, can step away from their desk for a few minutes at 5 p.m. to log into Zoom, I think you can still participate without physically having to get to City Hall by the time. And again, and with all due respect to the counselor from Ward 3, I think 5 p.m. is a start. And, who's to say if in 2 years, if God willing, I'm reelected, I might revisit this and try to, we'll see how 5 p.m. works and maybe push the envelope a little more. But I think 5 o'clock is certainly a start. And we can see how that goes. And hopefully, like I said, with Zoom and technology like that, I hope that stays even after we're back to normal and in the chamber, because I think it's a great way for residents to tune in and participate without having to come to City Hall. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. I just want to add a few words. Everyone's voice can be heard by sending an email to the city clerk's office or writing a letter to the city clerk's office. So no one's voice will ever be disregarded. There are always different avenues where citizens can reach out and voice their concerns. I think 5 o'clock is a compromise. No matter whether it's 5, 4, 5, 6, or 7, there's always going to be a niche of people who cannot make it. Our city, our demographics is filled with the hospitality industry. Some restaurants don't open up until 4 p.m. So workers who might have a vested interest in the city council meeting may like council meetings that are at 3:30, or a meeting that a time for someone who works in the hospitality industry may not work for someone who works 9 to 5. So our demographics in our city are basically restaurant industry and hotels. So we have to look out for that as that niche of citizens as well. I think if we just start off with 5 p.m. and if we have more complaints, we can always amend it. That's the power we have as city councilors. So let's take a roll call with the 5 o'clock amendment. And if the city clerk can read it with the 5 p.m. change, and then we'll vote on a roll call.
Okay, I'm going to read it as the committee has presented it. Section 1, Section 2.03.050, open meetings, is hereby amended by inserting a new subsection 2.03.050E as follows. All meetings of governmental bodies shall not commence before the hour of 5 o'clock on Monday through Friday or before 10 o'clock a.m. on Saturday or Sunday, in matters deemed necessary by the presiding officer of the following: Board of Health, City Council Committee of the Whole and Subcommittees, Conservation Commission, Commission on Disabilities, Human Rights Commission, Planning Board, Traffic Commission, and Zoning Board of Appeals.
Roll call.
Roll call of the committee members as amended. Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Sereno?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. Council President Keefe?
Yes.
Yes. And Chairman Zambudo? Chairman Morabito?
Yes.
Yes. The ordinance as amended will be forwarded to the full city council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda.
That was calendar item, I'm sorry, Council Order 20-308, motion presented by Council Morbido that the City of Revere implement a local eviction moratorium beginning October 17th until the COVID-19 pandemic subsides. This motion is being submitted because the city's unemployment rate is 8 times higher than last year's rate, and a moratorium will protect the city's most vulnerable citizens.
Thank you. So I got legal advice from our city solicitor. Can you read the letter from our city solicitor pertaining to this motion? Ashley, you're on mute. Yeah.
This is from Paul Capizzi, the city solicitor. Chapter 65 of the Acts of 2020, an act providing for a moratorium on evictions and foreclosures during the COVID-19 emergency, was signed into law on April 20th, 2020. Chapter 65, enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives and signed by the governor, temporarily suspended non-essential evictions. Accordingly, the eviction process and the rights of the parties involved are governed by state law. Only the state can suspend the enforcement and implementation of its own laws, which it did with Chapter 65. The City of Revere is subject to these laws and lacks the authority to waive, temporarily halt, or disregard their application. Therefore, this matter falls under the exclusive authority of the Commonwealth.
Thank you. Does anyone have any comments on that motion? If not, I'm just going to place that on file. And there's no more items on the agenda for today. That concludes today's Legislative Affairs Subcommittee. There will be one item voted out favorably to the City Council this evening. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'm just going to shut everyone's
Thank you.
video off and sound off in between meetings. Thank you. Unless you want me to leave it on, but just to let you guys know, we are going to be live throughout this whole time in between now and the next committee meeting, okay?
Can you hear me? Hello, can
Yes,
you
we
hear
can
me?
hear you, George. Hey.
Sorry, I finally got in. I'm having difficulties for the past half hour, so I apologize.
No problem. Just so you know, we are live streaming. That's why I shut all the sound and cameras off for everybody until the appointments meeting starts at 5:45.
And so the regular meeting will start at 6, correct?
Correct.
Perfect. So I'll be all ready. Thank you so much. I'm going to put it
You're
on mute
welcome,
now.
George. Have a good
Bye
one.
now.
Hey, George, you like your new street light?
I do. Thank you, Bob.
It's Ira.
Ira, thank you.
You're welcome.
That was a beat for a thank you, too. All right. We'll talk again.
Roger that.
I'm out.
Hey, Arthur.
Hi, how are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Are you going to take a roll call?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to get that queued up.
Welcome. Madam Clerk, do we have other members appearing?
They should be, let me see, I had the video shut off. I'm just going to ask people to start their video. So participating counselors, you can start your video. The meeting of the appointment subcommittee will be beginning shortly.
Okay, Ashley, the appointment subcommittee is about to start. I'd like to introduce the following members who are members of the subcommittee. Councilor Janino, Councilor McKenna, Councilor Powers, and Councilor Visconti. The first item before us is 20-308, appointment of N&M Excavating as a licensed drain layer. Is any member from N&M available?
I'm present, sir. Robert Murray, one of the owners of N&M Excavating.
Robert, can you give us after stating your name and address, give us a brief presentation as what you're going to do, and if you actually are actively involved in a drain layer position right now within the city of Revere?
Absolutely. So Robert Murray, I'm one of the owners here at N&M Excavating. We won the contract for National Water Main to do all the open cuts. So it includes 12 open cuts and 5 new sewer manholes under the sewer rehab program. So I'm coming to you guys on behalf of trying to get on the drain layers list for the city of Revere. I'm on the city of Boston. I'm on multiple municipalities across the state. We do prevailing wage work. We're licensed, bonded, and the full work. So be happy to get the opportunity to work in your city.
Thank you. Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, if I may ask, where are these locations that you're planning on doing? These are water lines, you say?
It's a sewer spot repair. So how it goes, so a couple of the streets are like Pearl Ave, Wave Ave, Winthrop, the Pearl Ave Boatyard. So what they're doing is they're going to be lining all those sewers. And with lining those sewers, there's going to be certain spots that the joints of the clay pipe are just offset. And so it will require an excavation down onto the sewer main. And then my crew will do anywhere from like a 3-foot to a 15-foot spot repair on that pipe. So then the lining company, National Water Main, can line through the, can continue their process of lining the rest of that phase.
Yeah, well, sir, you are a professional, I am sure, but I would just like to apprise you of the fact that in the past, we've had excavations, water lines, sewer lines, gas lines, etc., and that have not been compacted properly.
Yep.
And I want to bring that to your attention because it is a serious problem, or it's getting better, but it was a serious problem in the city of Revere. People would do an excavation in some areas, particularly areas near the marsh. They would throw the old stuff back in, not compacted properly, and throw some hot top on it. And a year later or 9 months later, we'd wind up with a bumpy trench in the middle of the road. So that's one of the things that I'm sure should be done properly. And again, it's all about compacting and putting the right fill in back in there, not just dumping the old peat and stuff like that in there. So
Yes, sir. With this contract, we're actually hauling out all the excess material, all the material from the hole, and it will be backfilled with gravel. So
Yeah.
that'll be compacted in 2-foot lifts. And then in my contract as well, I own the paving. So I will do a temporary trench paving on the day of the cut once that gets backfilled. And then I will be back this coming spring or within like 6 months, more so after winter, and I will cut that trench back out and repave it. So if there was any settlement, that will be corrected at that time.
Glad to hear that, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council.
Absolutely.
Any other councilors on the subcommittee wishing to speak? Madam Clerk, do you see any hands by any members of the
No,
subcommittee?
Chairman, there's no hands raised, neither attendees.
How about any other member of the city council wishing to speak? Okay, Rob, there doesn't appear to be any. As chair, I reviewed your qualifications. I reviewed all the good comments that were letters of referral that was submitted to our city council. It seems like all your paperwork is in order. We will vote this out of the subcommittee this evening, and I'll ask for a roll call on the vote of the subcommittee, and we will vote it out favorably this evening, I'm sure. And that'll be it. In the next couple of days, you can contact the city clerk's office for your paperwork.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for attending. Madam Clerk? Councilor
Roll call of
Janino?
the members of the, I'm sorry,
Councilor Janino?
For roll call or for comments?
Roll call.
Yes.
Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Councilor Powers?
Yes.
Councilor Visconti?
Yes.
And myself vote yes. So we vote you all favorably this evening to the committee of the whole, and it looks like everything's okay. And we'll go forward from there. Congratulations. Do a good job for our community, and we value your interest in working within our community.
Thank you very much, sir.
That concludes the very brief appointment subcommittee meeting for the meeting of November 9th, 2020. Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you.
Great person. Dedicated husband.